Welcome back to fixbuildrace. In this episode we're going to be fully rebuilding the engine and hopefully getting it back in the car and running. Sam's back.
I'm back and
got a good mow update there. Yeah, mine's a bit pitiful, but that's all good, we'll still carry on. Yeah, COVID free, how was it?
free, yeah, it was pretty boring, but
yeah, Sam's not really a gamer, so we got pretty bored. Yeah, so it's currently Saturday the 3rd of December, so first Saturday of December, so if you're from New Zealand you'll know what that means. Good luck with your crate. But yeah, we're going to be here all day, so have one for us, would ya? Yeah, and last Wednesday we came in and, well, I was at work and then stayed at work, and David stayed behind and helped out, which was awesome. Thank you so much, David. So yeah, really appreciate that. We got the rotating assembly together, so you'll see that after this intro. And then yeah, we're here today, Saturday. We're going to carry on, try and get it fully assembled.
Alright, so the exciting news that Jack briefly teased in the last video was that we got sponsored by Mazda. So, well, through a mutual friend of Aaron's, we got an article written on Stuff, which was insane. And it just so happened that the PR guys at Mazda saw it and decided that they wanted to help out, and yeah, help out with good cause. So thank you so much to Mazda, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really helped a lot. So they pretty much just grabbed every part for that car, for an engine rebuild and that sort of thing that they had available. So they gave us oil pump, front main seal, oil pump pickup gasket, sump washers, oil and filter. They're also going to give us plate surrounds, and the other day I realised we still need spark plugs as well, so I contacted the guy that gave us the parts and asked if he could help us out with a discount. So he said, yeah, we'll give them to you cost price. Went to pick them up, and Mazda Henderson gave them to me for free. They said, oh, it's already paid for. I was like, what? Oh, I was like, what, paid for? He goes, yeah, by us. So yeah, that was awesome as well. Shout out to John Andrew Ford and Mazda Henderson. It is December now, but Movember goes all year round, so you can still donate to our Movember page. It'll be linked in the description. Yeah, I'll just keep it up for the whole time we're doing these videos.
I'm going to keep the mow for the whole time we're doing. I'll shave it off once the car gets sold. So
well, that's a big call.
Yeah.
Sam might have a mow on Christmas Day and New Year's.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
Alright, so we're just going to hone the bores. David's taking the reins because he's the most experienced. None of us are engine builders, so see how this goes. But oiled up the bores. David's going to let it rip.
Yeah.
I think it needs a
Definitely a bit of improvement, eh?
needs plenty.
While David's doing that, I'm just trying to get all the thin seals out. Easy as that, mate. I'm going to want to keep this afterwards. It's going to be so nice. This is before we've rebuilt it. So I'm just checking that the smallest tolerance goes in easy and the biggest tolerance doesn't go in, and we're just pulling it there. That's all we need to know. It's not too tight, it's not too loose, so just do that and mid.
Explain what you're doing, Jack.
Trying not to break rings. Setting them all 90 degrees apart. No, have you always set rings 90 degrees apart?
180.
Oh, like, well, there's 2 oil control rings, do them 180 apart, and then second and top ring 180 apart, but 90 degrees different. So the other ones, is what I mean.
And David's just putting on some, what do you call it? Plastic gauge.
Plastic gauge. Yeah.
Plastic gauge. Measure the tolerances between the crank and the journals. Bearings. Make sure they're not too tight
or too loose. Pretty crude way of doing it, but
better than not doing it at all.
for the home jobs, gets the job done. The home jobs that work. Yep, we're away. I was front on there, yep, we're away. After checking the clearances with the plastic gauge, we confirm that they are within spec and fit the cradle for the final time. We can then move on to fitting the rods and pistons and checking that the big end bearing clearances are within spec. Alright, so one of the parts that Mazda kindly gave us was a brand new oil pump, which is really good because as all the bearing material went through this engine, probably went through the oil pump as well. So we got a brand new freshie that'll have no bad materials in it. So we're just chucking that on now. Rotating assembly is all assembled at the moment as well. We just kind of put our heads down and got it done. Still a lot of work, hoping to be done by the weekend, but we'll see how we go. But yeah, big thank you to Mazda for hooking us up with the parts. It's bloody awesome.
Got some assembly lube, so we're just gonna prime the oil pump. Make sure you do that when you're rebuilding your engine.
The genuine Mazda oil pump.
So yeah, we're just gonna squirt some in there and give it a spin, get it all coated and primed,
and it should pick up oil very quickly, which is what we want. Just keep spinning, just keep swimming. Yeah, there you go. So that's nice and primed. It should pick up oil very quickly, which is what we want. We just got to remember to disable the car, disable the engine, crank for oil pressure.
Basically the same thing we did with the 1UZ.
Yeah.
We did this as well. I don't know if we showed that, but
no, I don't think we did. But yeah, we did prime the 1UZ one and it picked up very quickly, 10 seconds or so.
Yeah.
Oil filter also faces downwards, so I'll probably pre-fill that. Heads cleaned. I've spent all morning cleaning it, ready to put valve stem seals on. So I'm just going to whack those on. Sam can probably get the sump back on. That's all clean. Just needs a bit more razor blading to get the gaskets off.
New gasket on the, what's that, oil pickup?
Pickup tube, yep. So that's another, as I said, genuine Mazda gasket.
And that did have, oh, we didn't show that, but there was a lot of metal sitting in there, so I cleaned that out as best as I can without destroying it.
Yeah, it's just plastic in there. You probably can't see it, but it's just a plastic mesh, so we didn't want to blow heaps of air pressure down there and blow it to bits.
From what I can see, I've got everything out, so
yeah,
good.
Definitely make sure you do that if you run a bearing. Clean all the oil passages. There was a
Last
lot
thing you
still on the
want
sump.
is oil, metal in the fresh engine that you've just built, and
Yep.
it doing the same thing again.
Yep.
I'm just going to loop that up and slap her on. Alright, what are you up to, Jack?
Just reassembling valve stem seals. So the kit's very clearly labelled inlet and exhaust. That is the exhaust. I'm doing exhaust and just getting them all started by hand. So I've already done these two. And I've just got a socket. Got to be careful not to mark, not to damage the valve seat. As here it go hard. The valve seat is the bottom of the stem seal there. I think that one's not quite down this. Once all the stem seals are installed, we could then move on to fitting the valve train, and this was a lot easier going back together with two people than it was taking it apart by myself.
Alright, so we're just putting some grey RTV.
Came with the Permaseal kit, it's pretty cool. That's our sump gasket.
Yeah, so Mazda does that from factory, so we're going to do what Mazda does.
I'm letting the welder do the siliconing because he lays the best beads. Never mind, we just got busy with our fingers. Smeared it all on. Make sure that hook up.
Torque spec on those, just PT.
Pretty tight.
Yeah.
You tighten it up till it goes loose again, then back it off a couple times. Multi-layer steel head gasket, people. My head's cut off on the thing.
Head gasket time, ready for the head, making progress.
So it says put some silicone here and here on the front. I'm guessing so it squidges out, and then the front cover seals on that.
Apply silicone seal into the areas shown in the figure. Caution, install the cylinder head gasket and cylinder head before applied silicone starts to harden. If that makes sense.
I've got both down here, so.
And it's done.
The bolts, let's oil them all up. Tightening sequences.
3 to 11 newton-meters, 13 to 17 newton-meters, 43 to 47 newton-meters, and then 88 to 92 degrees, and then another 88 to 92 degrees. So we're probably just going to go bang smack in the middle of all those.
Yeah.
Easiest way.
Yeah, and then if you do a little bit over, you're not over tightening it. So we do 90 degrees, sometimes you end up at 91.
Or
so
89, but
yeah, so if
either
we set
way
it to 92, we might end up at 93 and then we've over tightened it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So pretty much just going in a circle from the middle outwards.
It's just so the head gets tightened down evenly. You're not tightening down one side and then tightening down the other and doesn't seat properly.
Yeah.
That's not ideal. It's kind of an important step, so make sure if you're doing it, you get the right tightening sequence and torque sequences.
Yeah.
Because that's really important, especially on the head. Same with the cam gears as well. Oh, cams.
Everything inside the engine, you need to torque properly.
And do it in the right order.
Yeah. Yeah, cams are very important, even when loosening them as well. If you loosen them unevenly in the wrong order, you can snap a cam. As we saw in old Rick and Ralph's video, cams are very brittle. So yeah, if the spring tension is on one lobe and you loosen that one, say the spring tension's here, you loosen these and these first, it'll be pushing up and it'll snap the cam and the cam will be held in place here. So it can either snap or banana a cam.
Not ideal.
No.
especially if you're trying to put the cams back in the car.
Yeah, then we'd have to go to Calvert and be like, yeah, we need some big boy cams. Right, first pass of 90 degrees. You got to do degree torquing. I highly recommend one of these torque wrenches over using a dial gauge. Afterwards, so that one's 70 newtons.
Right, final torque.
Second round of 90 degrees. Where am I starting here? Yeah. Got the foot on it. Sam's holding the stand. That's scary. Oh yeah, 91 torques. Good shit, bruh.
Oh well, none of them snapped.
Thank goodness for that.
Alright, cam time. Been time cam. Zip.
Alright, so we've got all our special tools in. We've got this one back here which locks the cams in place. There's notches in the backs of the cams, locks the cams at TDC. So shout out to Mazda for that as well. They let us borrow those. That and this one down in the block, I think we already showed that, eh? So as you saw in the last video when I pulled the engine apart, there's no keyway or timing marks on this engine at all. So you need special tools from Mazda. So we're lucky enough that Mazda is helping us out with this project, and they've given me a special tool to use. So you just take this plug out here. Hopefully we've got the right thread. So we put that in and then we rotate clockwise and the counterweight should contact that. There. That's locked on there now. And then we should, since everything is free and moving, these can all move. When I pull the pin, it's gonna pull that, and you can see that rotating. It's just gonna pull all the tension down to here, and then we can lock them up, and that's set. So it's a pretty interesting way of doing it, but it is like it's gonna work. It seems.
You ready?
Yep. Boom. Timed. Right, so that's all tight. Now we can tighten these ones up properly. That's how you're meant to position this and set the crank pulley so it's in time, because the crank sensor is going to be picking it up and expecting to see top dead center at a certain point. So that's how you set it after the chain's all set. Chain's still nice and tension. Need to figure out a way to hold this pulley while I torque it, because this little bolt will just snap and probably break the cover. Turns out David had done something like this before and he had something he made up, so that came in handy. Torque the bolt up. Now is the time that we can take this locking pin out. Pull these out. And
Run
we
the
should
truth.
be able to turn this around. Alright. That's us. Haven't clipped any valves. I should probably stop because I don't want to wipe all the assembly lube off. So, we good? Alright, so as I said before, we did have to go with a new clutch. Old one on there, looked like the original item. So, also had to get the flywheel machine. So massive shout out to Nappa New Lynn. I went in to get a machine, and when I picked it up, I asked if they could help me out with price at all, and told them what we were doing, and they ended up doing it for free for me. So massive thanks to them, Nappa New Lynn. Definitely check them out. If you need any flywheel machining or other parts. So we finished up fitting the manifolds and everything else to the engine that night, and then transported it over to the fixbuildrace headquarters, aka Sam's workshop, that night in the pissing down rain. Now it's the next day where I'm at the workshop again to refit the engine. Just me again today. Fortunately both the boys are busy again, and I think they actually will be busy all day, so probably just going to be me for the whole second part of this video. As you can see, we got the engine here, it's just hanging out, and it needs to get back in this MX5 and running. So plan is replace the throw up bearing that came with the clutch kit. Unfortunately the clutch kit didn't come with a alignment tool. I guess not all of them do, obviously. So we eyeball aligned it, fairly confident that it's, you know, centralized, but I guess we'll just see when I get it in there. Hopefully it's not a huge battle, because doing this by myself is going to suck. But yeah, going to take off that panel that I mentioned is removable, which is going to make this a hell of a lot easier. I'm also going to give the engine bay a quick clean down. I would like to get it out and water blast it, but that's just going to take way too long. It's already midday, so I don't really have time to do that. So I'm going to give it a spray and wipe down with the greaser and brake clean and that sort of stuff. Just hopefully get it up a bit cleaner, a bit nicer, more presentable. And then yeah, engine in the car, hook it all up, hopefully get it running today, but we'll see. Just see how I go. Alright, so yes, removable panel is gone. It's going to make it so much easier. Gave the gearbox a quick clean out and fit a new thrust bearing. That was really easy to do, so thanks Mazda, that was good. Gave the subframe a quick clean, don't mind the footprints in there. I climbed in there to do the thrust bearing and clean the gearbox. Got a jack under the gearbox just for positioning the gearbox where I need it to get the engine in place. And yeah, I'm gonna try and swing this in. That was a shit fight. It's now 2:30, started at midday, but it's in. Just got to get the engine mounts on. I've just got 2 bell housing bolts in at the moment, but might be here till midnight again if I want to get it running. I honestly use a beer right now, but just gonna carry on hooking shit up. Right, it's a moment of truth, people. I'm gonna chuck some oil in it, remove the spark plugs, unplug the injectors, and crank for oil pressure. So this is just a running in oil, 1540 running in oil, which we always use on cars that have rebuilt engines. Always use a bit of running in oil, just helps with the running in process, as the name states. Then once we're happy with it, we're going to drain the oil and put in some genuine Mazda oil that Mazda gave us, and a genuine Mazda oil filter, which is awesome. So yeah, this will stay in for a little while. Not going to do high revs or anything on this one, and the car's also going to go on the dyno for a checkup, which is awesome. So cheers to David for offering to do that. But yeah, anyway, let's get some oil in it. Hopefully it doesn't all come out somewhere. So I've got an oil pressure gauge here that I'm watching. Alright, it's a new day. Sam's here. He's gonna man the key. I just pulled the oil pressure switch out hoping I could put a gauge in there, but of course it's not standard thread, so that's great. So we're just gonna crank it and watch oil come out of there, and if oil comes out of there, then we got oil pressure, kind of. So we're just gonna send it. And then while he's in there, we're gonna bleed the clutch. Alright. Let me put a container down where it's dropped. Alright, crank it, mate. Yeah, you need a clutch in to start it.
Right?
Yep. Yep. Well, there's frickin' pressure, holy shit. They came out very quick, so sweet, we can start it. Let me just bung that hole back up, bleed the clutch, then we'll bring it down and start it. Alright.
Sending it.
What was that?
Dunno.
The fuck was that?
Nah,
Did
I'm
you
wondering if my foot like came off the clutch slightly,
Oh, yeah.
but it's not in gear.
Yeah, it could be something fucky with the clutch. Keep your foot off on the clutch and just try again.
My foot was on the clutch the whole time, but
Yeah, just keep it on. To see if it runs all good. Is that all we got? Turn that shit off. Don't know what we're choosing for, but as you heard, that wasn't a good sound. So it now makes a worse sound than before we took it out of the car and rebuilt it. Went to pull the spark plugs, and number 2 was hard to get out, and it's ruined the threads coming out because the spark plug got damaged. Because number 2 has dropped the valve, unfortunately. Don't know why. We assembled the valves, we were happy that they all looked fine, everything went together fine.
all the collets were seated properly.
Well, I guess
obviously
they
not.
weren't, but they looked like they were, and they were holding them in. You might be able to see in the time lapse, I was messing around with it after we got a collet in. I got all the spacings between the 2 collets even, which if you've rebuilt an engine you'll know what I mean. If you don't, then you don't. But the trick that I don't know, because obviously I'm not that experienced with rebuilding engines, as you can see. I've rebuilt a few, but this was the first head job I've done on my own. There's a trick where once everything's in, give the valve a whack with a shaft of a hammer or a punch or something to act as a valve, smacking it open, and that'll let you know if everything's seated. It'll seat the collets properly, and if there is a problem it would pop out, which number 2 would have done that, but I didn't know the trick, Sam didn't know the trick. Unfortunately David came in a little bit after we finished assembling the head. I think we had the head on the block, so yeah, he wasn't there to guide us. So yeah, I'll own the fuck up. I wasn't as experienced as I thought I was.
More experience now though.
Yeah, exactly.
We now know that you have to do that.
Very hard lesson to learn. Probably going to be an expensive lesson to learn. And very annoying. I could have been driving the car around now and putting some Ks on the rebuilt engine, getting it on the dyno and stuff. Instead, we're going to try and pull the head in place and cross our fingers that the block, pistons, rods are fine. Sam killed the car pretty quick, as you can see in that clip. I'm glad he was onto it. I kind of froze up and my life flashed before my eyes. So yeah, hoping that's fine. We just got to strip pretty much everything down off the engine, like we were going to pull the engine back out, except for bell housing bolts. Everything else is going to have to come off, and figure out what to do.
Yeah, basically pull it apart, assess the damage, and then go from there.
Yeah. But I'm pretty spent on this project. The project was coming out of my bank account, out of my Sylvia savings. So I held off on buying a few more parts and decided to do this. And yeah, all that money's dried up, so we'll see what we can do, see what happens, hopefully figure something out. But yeah, that'll be it for this one. Unfortunately, it wasn't a happy ending to the engine rebuild. But yeah, I guess it's not how hard you get knocked down, it's how you get back up, right?
Exactly.
Right now I just want to drink 10 of these and cry. So I'm going to go do that. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one when hopefully we've figured out what the heck we're going to do. Cheers.
I don't really put much soul in it. It's like I don't